Wide receivers and their growing injury histories are the focus of our second installment of this two-part series. What wideouts are we worried about? Who shouldn't we be worried about? Well, let's find out because bienvenidos and welcome to the Injury Prone Podcast. I'm Jorge Martin and Dr. Edwin Porras is making a house call. Compa, how we doing? ¿Cómo estamos?
We're doing good, man. I'm ready to talk some of these wide receivers. Part two of the installment, as you say, and let's get after it.
Oh, vámonos. Also, making sure you're following Injury Prone Podcast on YouTube. Our numbers are growing. Keep coming back. We're gonna have regular installments throughout the season, and also make sure you're subscribing to the Pro Athlete Physical Therapy Podcast. Okay, it's on YouTube. It's Edwin flying solo on that one. It's on YouTube. It's on wherever you get your audio podcasts. Great short episodes, a lot of great stuff for people, especially not just professional athletes, but hey, you know what, youth ball players, high school players, all the way college, all the way up. So enjoy. All right, compa. You know, there was a news item recently that came out during OTAs. Najee Harris is really going to great lengths to eat clean, you know, just really no processed food or anything. It's a big coincidence that, you know, it's his contract year, but, and you've talked about it on the Pro Athlete PT and a little bit here too, on the importance of proper nutrition for athletes at all levels. But can you sum up kind of what kind of a difference does it make? And does this kind of news kind of make you more bullish on Najee Harris?
Honestly, not really. I mean, it's good for the athlete. Don't get me wrong. But once you're in the league and you've shown who you are, unless there are super drastic changes you're making one way or the other, you know, I don't know how much it's going to show up on the field, especially for a team like the Steelers, who we already know they're going to give Jaylen Warren carries. We already know the quarterback situation's a nightmare. It's just, you know, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I tell every athlete that comes in, hey, you should start doing this, start doing that. Download MyFitnessPal, track your protein, track your calories, stop eating junk, stop eating fast food. Obviously, that stuff's all great, right? It just makes you wonder, like you're saying, like, why weren't you doing this before? I don't know. But in terms of like whether it will give him a 1%, 2% advantage on the field from an NFL perspective, yeah, I could see that happening. Will we see it show up in the box score when it comes to his fantasy numbers? I'm not totally certain.
No, I hear you. I think it's really different. I mean, I do remember there's one particular case that I remember, Matt Kemp in 2011. He did not eat anything that came from the training room. He brought in all of his meals. Everything was pre-packed. He had a chef make them. Everything was just like, and he ate as clean as that. He even brought in his own water, and he almost had he missed a 40-40 season by a home run, where he hit number 39 in the last game of the season. But maybe they played a part. I mean, there were a lot of different things, but we'll see. But you know what? There is one thing, and we know this growing up in Mexican households. Frijoles de la olla may be the perfect food. So
maybe, yeah.
High in protein, high in fiber, low fat. Not the frijoles, not the frijoles fritos, the refried. No. Be careful with those. De la olla, the boiled beans. Aren't they the perfect food?
No, they are. Yeah, absolutely. You can't go wrong with them. It's got everything that you need, like you said. It's not fried, and you're making me hungry, man. It's around lunchtime here where I'm at, so I'm getting a little hungry. So let's talk about the players.
Let's get into the players. Okay, so vámonos. What we got? Talking about injury histories, Keenan Allen, he's going into his age 32 season. So he missed 7 games in 2022 with a hamstring injury that he suffered in the first game of the season. I was actually at that game when he suffered it. Then he missed the last 4 games of last season with a heel injury. Otherwise had a fantastic season, averaged more than 10 targets a game, 108 catches on 150 targets in 13 games, 1,243 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. But this is a guy who's been kind of like your injury-prone poster child, compa. You talked about the different injuries that he had. So, I mean, now the age is creeping up, and hamstring. This is not the hamstring was not the first time that he had that. He also had it in 2020. You know. Level of concern now that he's getting up there in years?
Well, I'll take the L. I know I don't talk about my L's enough. I'll take the L on Keenan Allen last year because I said fade him. I didn't think that it was going to work out. The hamstring was really scaring me. And he made me eat it all year long until he got injured. And the heel injury was kind of like a fluke type thing. So I'm pretty sure that he just shut it down because he knew he wasn't going to come back, and the team wasn't good, and Herbert got injured, and he probably just said, all right, we're going to let it rest here. So, I want to say, oh yeah, I mean, he's 32. He can't keep this up forever. But again, those freaks of nature that just continuously do things, right? Like those technicians, like Keenan Allen. You either have to be a technician like Keenan Allen, or you have to be a straight freak athlete like Tyreek Hill to continue to make pushes and continue to make sign contracts and be productive. So I still think Keenan Allen can do it. I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff completely. I think if anything, this might be an issue for Cole Kmet potentially, simply because, who's going to be that? If you're Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams is pretty high football IQ, is he going to choose the security blanket to be Cole Kmet, or is he going to choose it to be Keenan Allen? Right. I think that he's going to make the right decision there. So I still think he can rack up the receptions. I'm not sure if the touchdowns and the yards will follow. But as long as that hamstring holds up, and again, the hamstring was an issue for the last couple of years, so it doesn't mean that it won't crop up again. There's some risk with Keenan Allen, probably not as much as I think should be associated with him. But sort of like you're saying, right? He's coming off the board at wide receiver 31, pick 53. I'd probably be okay with that.
The level of concern with, he's a guy who hasn't played games regularly in cold weather. Obviously, you'd have to play road games in Denver and Kansas City and other stuff. But going to Chicago, playing outdoors primarily. Obviously, he's going to grass. We had in the last episode we talked about turf versus grass, but with the cold being more regular occurrence, does that raise any kind of concern?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think that the cold is something that players deal with, and maybe it's a mental adjustment for him. But similar to the Najee Harris diet thing, I don't know how much that's going to actually show up in the box score. I think if we see a dip in Keenan Allen, it's going to be because of the age, because he lost a step, because the hamstring cropped back up, et cetera, et cetera. But I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about that.
And also the competition with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze for targets, because those guys, that's going to be real. DJ Moore is a dog, so that guy's. I think it's going to be really clear that he's going to be the wide receiver one in that ecosystem. But Keenan's going to get some run. But Rome Odunze was one of my favorite receivers in this rookie class, and I think him and Williams are definitely the future there. I mean, of course, DJ Moore, it's not like he's old, so. And Keenan Allen's on essentially a 1-year deal. So he's going to need to prove something to get the next contract. So, I don't think he shuts it down like he did last year. So we'll see. And hopefully they're fighting for a playoff spot. Please, Caleb Williams, be good. Please. We've got too many Chicago Bears fans in our Familia community. All right, so from a guy who left LA to a guy who is still in LA, Cooper Kupp, the 2021 NFL Offensive Player of the Year. Ever since then, he's been productive, but injuries have really hurt him. 2022, he missed time with an ankle. Last year, he was out with the hamstring injury. Sat out, so he was on IR where he missed the first 4 games, and then he also rested in week 18. In the middle, he had 9 of 12 games where he had 7+ targets, so he was still a regular part of the offense. But now he's going into his age 31 season. I know we talked a lot about Cooper Kupp last season, both preseason and during the season. Could the age be creeping up with him?
It could be. I'm still waiting on that retirement speech and commencement ceremony and pomp and circumstance that was the summer of 2023 for Cooper Kupp. That's just outrageous to me. The amount of DMs and questions I got about does he have a terminal illness? Some of the most ridiculous things is like, he tore his hamstring, man. Like, it happens. And then he rolled his ankle. It happens. This is nothing to do with anything. I've been wanting to get on the soapbox for a long time. I'm really glad you put me on here. I'm not going to tell you that Cooper Kupp is going to stay healthy. Like I don't tell you that any player is going to stay healthy. That's not my MO. And I want you to clip this for me, please, George. I'm going to look right at the camera when I say this. Unless we are in September and there is a report from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport that a player is actively considering retirement or will retire or has some terminal illness that's going to make him magically fall off the face of the earth, we should probably chill on some of these rumors and whispers, no matter how confirmed you think that they are. Cooper Kupp is 32. If Cooper Kupp falls off this year in 2024, it's going to be because Cooper Kupp is 32 years old, not because Cooper Kupp has some strange, rare illness that nobody's known about that's gotten him to the age of being in the NFL for however many years at this point, being a Triple Crown winner. If it was an issue, it probably would have been an issue by now. So here's the deal on Cooper Kupp. He is a 32-year-old, whether you want to call him former or whatever, superstar in a good offense with a good quarterback and a smart head coach who's constantly looking to make the playoffs. I'm going to draft Cooper Kupp when it makes sense. What I'm not going to do is worry about Cooper Kupp's ankle injury. Now, could the hamstring be a different story? Yes. We know the recurrence rates for hamstrings and wide receivers is pretty high. That's something that you consider. But the fact that Cooper Kupp is going, underdog wide receiver 31, even though he's got Puka Nacua to worry about, I think is a little egregious. And I'll probably take a little bit more Cooper Kupp than some of my contemporaries. That's all I had to say about that.
Woo! Compa.
Minute 10. I think that was minute 10. You can flip that for me, please.
Yes, I know exactly where I know exactly. That one's going to be that you're going to see this. You're going to see this. Oh, amigos y amigas. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. You're right. I mean, it's a high-powered offense with Matthew Stafford. Puka Nacua is clearly the number one receiver now. And he's someone that's being drafted in the first round. And the first round, he's not lasting later than the first pick or two of the second round. So he's good. But Matthew Stafford has always been able to support multiple wide receivers, and the Rams didn't add anybody highly. I mean, they brought back DeMarcus Robinson.
We've come so far. We've fallen so far since they have breakfast together every day, right? Like that was the narrative when he was good is, they have breakfast together. Is what? Okay. Anyway, continue.
Well, part of the reason why is because they brought the part of the reason why Puka Nacua was good is that they brought him to have breakfast with the two of them. So that's the important thing. So if you want to be a good rookie wide receiver, have breakfast with the quarterback. So get there. So yes, Cooper Kupp's still going to be good. This is going to be a high-powered offense no matter what. They don't have a tight, their tight end Tyler Higbee. He's gonna be out a good chunk of the season because he got hurt in the playoffs. So he's going to be getting Cooper Kupp's still going to be getting underneath the way they work together. They still had great games together. So Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, I think this is going to be good. So no level of concern there. I have a little bit of level of concern about Tee Higgins. So I know he's going into his age 25 season. Missed 5 games last year, weeks 5, 10 to 12, and 18, all with hamstring. He re-injured the hamstring in week 17, sat out week 18 at that point. Looks like it was a recurrence of 2022 injury. I know he's young. There's a contract squabble happening. So does he miss, part of training camp because of that? And can that lead to problems later? Compa, do you want to, walk me off a ledge here, or you want to, or what do you think on Tee Higgins?
Yeah, I think Tee Higgins has had some pretty bad luck when it comes to the injury department. He's had the high ankle sprain. Again, like the issues that you mentioned, the hamstring again is one of those things that you really do worry about, and you do worry about things like the contract holdout thing, right? Like if he's yet to sign the franchise tag, so that's interesting for now. But there is that looming thing that we just talked about with Keenan Allen is, if something happens to Joe Burrow again. What are the chances that Tee Higgins I won't put that in the energy, but if something were to happen, right, what's to say Tee Higgins just won't shut it down? What's to say Tee Higgins looks at the training staff and says, you know what, I'm actually going to take the 4 or 5 weeks it actually takes for me to bounce back from this hamstring strain this time. What we don't know, right? So there's a lot of volatility when it comes to Tee Higgins. So, a guy that I think over the last 2 seasons has been a quintessential best ball pick, especially since he's attached to that offense. But for now, I would say the biggest concern from an injury perspective is that hamstring issue. Is it going to crop up again? It's been sort of nagging at him for a couple of years now. So we'll see with that. But yeah, when it comes to Tee Higgins in particular, I would probably I mean, I understand why like he's right in that range with Cooper Kupp. I understand why he's above a guy like Christian Watson, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But there is some volatility. There's a lot of volatility with Tee Higgins right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's tough to, he's a wide receiver 27, going off 42 in underdog drafts. So right there in the 4th round, that's right when running, people are, who go with the 0 RB build, maybe going for running backs at that point. There's starting to be a lot of sexy running backs at that for the dead zone that we love to talk about. I hope that whatever contract gets taken care of, but I have to think that they're probably going to have him play out the contract. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be talked about, and he's not going to have a normal training camp as a result. And that worries me. So, we're going to keep an eye. We're obviously going to keep an eye on that one. So, but yeah, please, Joe Burrow have a normal training camp, please, por favor. So, but yeah, hopefully Tee Higgins, and the other thing is, we haven't even talked about the fact that Jamar Chase is one of the clear absolute dogs when it comes to wide receiver ones. So there's no question who is the top dog there. So he's el hombre when it comes to that team and getting 10 plus targets a game. Tee Higgins is getting 6 to 8 at that point. So maybe that might be a high price to pay for at that point. You mentioned Christian Watson, and Compa, I don't know who's been more frustrating, because he's had some flashes of brilliance, but injuries, hamstring injuries. He had some other injuries. He had a chest injury in there, also a concussion in his rookie year, but missed 3 games in 2022, missed 8 games last year. But when he had that 8-game chunk in his last 3 games before he got hurt last year, he had 4 touchdowns. So we know this is an explosive player. Hamstring injuries are such a problem, but and he talked about like doing a body scan and to kind of find the genesis of these injuries and how to attack them properly. Can you share a little bit about what that's like?
No, I don't know what it means to get a full body scan and find the genesis of all your injuries. I think the issue with Christian Watson is the hamstring. Obviously, it takes a lot to get a I mean, I have a football player that I'm seeing now who it took a lot of dialing in. It took dialing in his diet, dialing in his hydration, dialing in his workloads, dialing in what he's doing outside of just ball and his training, dialing in the mental aspect, dialing in the consistency. It takes a lot of work to get hamstring soft tissue specifically to get cleaned up. And sometimes you do everything right and it doesn't work out. I don't know if Christian Watson is putting in the work, probably, that he needs to really put these hamstring issues to rest. But the bottom line is we just haven't seen him do it yet. I get, man, I was on the Will Fuller train for a few years, and I was adamant that it made no sense that Will Fuller continue to get injured. And I stand by, there was no reason that Will Fuller should have continued to get injured as often as he did. I gave Will Fuller plenty of chances. I can understand if you want to move away from Christian Watson, but at wide receiver 46, knowing the playmaking ability that he has, knowing his sort of freak athleticism, this is a situation where I'm probably going to be back in on Christian Watson at the right slot. I know I started this whole conversation off by like sounding like I wasn't going to be, but I just like, I'm looking at that ADP and I just think to myself, damn, that's hard to pass up. And, as Scott Barrett would say, upside wins championships, variance wins championships. You don't play for first and second. I know if you want to go to bed at night and sleep nicely and not worry about your fantasy team and tweaking lineups, then go for it. But, I play to win, and that's my style. If that's not your style, I get it. But Christian Watson's going into his 3rd year. Maybe in his 3rd year, 3rd time's the charm. They get something figured out. The medical staff gets him on board with a specific plan and routine, and he can stay healthy and have a full season and continue to take the tops off of defenses, making big plays. But I understand if you don't want to go Christian Watson, but I would love to have him as my wide receiver 3 flex. I would love to have him there.
7th round. I mean, he's going off at pick 84 right now. 7th round. I mean, even if you go with a hero RB build, he's maybe your 4th wide receiver you're taking at that point. I'll take that shot in a best ball draft. I'll take that shot in redraft. This guy is talented. He's got a great quarterback throwing to him. I know it's a very crowded, very talented wide receiver room, but I mean, this guy may be the most talented and is the fastest one of the 4 wide receivers that are in that group. So again, and you talked about Will Fuller. I think it was 2020. He made a concerted effort to get himself right. And he was having a great season when, unfortunately, he got popped for PEDs. So, but again, he had really made a concerted effort to get his hamstring issues taken care of, and he was having a good season. Maybe this is what's happening. I'm taking that chance with Christian Watson. So I'm very wheels up on this offense. I think Jordan Love is going too late in best ball drafts. He's going like in the 7th, 8th round. If you're waiting on quarterback, I think he's one of the perfect ones to wait for, even if you're going in a quarterback platoon. But I think he's going to be a really good one. And Christian Watson's going to be a very good reason for him being good. So, compa, good one. Good one. I think everybody got a lot of knowledge dropped on there. That Cooper Kupp talk was phenomenal. I'm glad I went solo. Got out of the picture on that one. Let you take that one over. So that was good. But it's graduation season, compa. I actually two I had two nephews graduate from college over the weekend, just before Memorial Day weekend. And it got me thinking of how something like a college graduation for children of immigrants like us, and in your case, you got to do it twice with your doctorate, with DPT. Muy felicidades on that one. But looking back, what did it mean for you and your parents and your familia?
A lot, man. I don't know why you're getting so deep on me here. You're gonna make me tear up thinking about it, but it is a big deal.
I'm gonna join you, compa. I'm gonna join you.
For me, it was just, knowing to keep it short, knowing the sacrifices that parents who are, kids of immigrants make. It's not to say that other individuals who aren't immigrants don't make sacrifices. It's not what we're saying, but it hits different, right? When your parents are people who decided to uplift their entire life into a country where they don't know the language or the culture, and immerse themselves into a world where they're working primarily labor jobs to get by, usually, generally speaking, and having their kids do the opposite of that and be able to graduate with an education, and it's a big deal. So it means the world to me, man. And like, if there's one Cultura class that I think is less light, but a lot more realistic and hits different for us, I think this is the one. This is a good one. So shout out to all the kids of immigrants.
A lot are walking across stages and doing that. And I just remember 3 people who were at my college graduation are no longer with us. My father, Pop, my abuelito and abuelita were both there. And I knew what it meant, and when my abuelito brought the whole family here, my mom's family here in the mid 50s, he wanted they wanted their children to grow up in the American dream. And they didn't know, they just knew that this was a land of opportunity. Us, we had to figure it out, what that was going to mean for us, because they couldn't give us that roadmap. But yeah, I remember looking at them a couple times, and that day, and I saw the pictures and everything, and it just when my father passed, I found some photos of him and me at my graduation, and it hit because I know what education meant to him. I know what education meant to my mom, Abigail. Yeah, and I mean, I was the first one of my generation to do it. I had a couple of tias who graduated before me, but yeah, it's special. So yeah, it's a little bit different when it's for us, and it's, Solana is sophomore in college. Good Lord willing, in 2 years she's going to be graduating, and it's going to be different. Though I want Mama Martin to be there too, so that she could soak that one in and kind of tell me how that felt.
Here's an actual salud.
Salud.
Cultura Class.
Salud.
That's a good way to end it, man.
Salud to all the children of immigrants who are graduating this year. So in these days. So salud everybody. And muchas gracias everybody for joining us. And otra vez, make sure you're following the Injury Prone podcast on YouTube. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, get in there. Lots of great stuff. More Cultura Class, maybe not so heavy next time. So also make sure you're checking out the Pro Athlete PT Physical Therapy podcast. We're on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Get in there. He's at FB Injury Doc on Twitter. Also Pro Athlete PT on all of the socials. So I'm at Jorge Martin 17. You find my work. Yahoo, RotoWire, Fantasy Pros. You're going to see a lot of my written work out there. Also, Familia FFB. I got some good stuff coming out on there on the Familia FFB podcast. Some good guests coming up. So, but yes, right now, otra vez, everybody, buena suerte out there. Enjoy. It's starting to get nice weather out there, and starting to enjoy the summer. And hey, muchas gracias again for joining us. And remember, salud.